Hey, welcome back to Just Talking Books. I had to make a pun on my name. There's so many Jessicas out there. Also, I know that this is going to have like a weird audio. I'm so sorry. I don't really have a good space right now for recording. My husband's earphones are kind of broken on his computer, as well as the fact that I just don't have time to put anything down when I'm still taking care of my daughter because Kita is, or daycare, depending on where you're from, is kind of still out until just after the new year, and I'm putting this out before then. So that's taken care of. Secondly, the little hedgehog guy you see in the corner, you should probably really enjoy because I liked making it. I liked making the cookie and the hot chocolate and the little hedgehoggy because I like hedgehogs. And thankfully, I live in Germany where they're everywhere. Any kind of bumps you hear or any kind of creaks, again, I'm in the kitchen and I'm on the kitchen table, and poor people be poor, right? So we don't exactly have the most top of the line cheers, sorry to say. And like today, we're going to talk about my 2024 least favorite books. I don't want to say worst, but I did not like them, but that's not the same thing as a worst to me. To me, worst is like a judgment that I can't make. They were worse to me, but they weren't worse like in the entire world because I haven't read enough books in the world to say that. So I'm just gonna say least favorites out of the ones I read this year. And to start with, we are going to go with the thrillers. Now, some of these are mysteries, some of them are not. I don't know. I'm just gonna go through these very quickly because I don't have a lot of time, and I don't think you do because it's the end of the year. So here we go. The Woman in Coach D was a book that I was very much looking forward to because I love the author's work. And all these names and stuff will be listed in the box below, so you can get the whole list without having to like read it or listen to it, whatever. But if you want the reasons why, obviously listen. So The Woman in Coach D was a book that had a lot of potential, but it just did not have the maturity in writing or maturity in concept. I think it needed a lot more editing. Crimson Goes Rogue recently did an episode on his channel on for Spine, that like AI book, Vanity Press anyway. And he said that a lot of books need to have, proper professional editing, and I agree. I think people are just trying to rush them out now to make what money they can. It didn't work. It was underdeveloped, underwritten, and the ending was not a twist. It was just kind of after we were stolen, which is also a book that needed to have a better editing, better pacing, relevant conversation on what's going on because it's about a cult. Like, what happens when children leave a cult? What do you know? And all the twists and turns, again, were not fully developed. I bought this off Chirp and I was excited because I thought it looked really interesting. Again, I'm not someone that likes cults, but I was like, hey, why not? This and The Woman in Coach D were read during Deadly December, which was my theme of the month for December, and so I'm very sad to say that this was not the ones for me. And after all the books that I read, that's saying something. I feel like there needs to be more attention to detail put in. Then I read science fiction. Now, Alethea is about a futuristic New York, basically, where you do everything by credit, by, what you have on you, be it a card, a phone, whatever, something to lock you in. And what happens when you're off the grid and you're not part of the big city? What's really going on? How do you fix these problems? And Alethea they had great ideas, not a lot of execution. And that made me sad because I felt like the overall story was fantastic, but the lead up needed a lot of work. And as for Unconquerable Sun, this was one that I was excited to read because it was like a space opera, which, oh God, I love a good space opera. You can just ask, I'll tell you all about them. But I could not get into this one because the stories were so complicated. It's like the show Lost, right? You have the people in the front end and the tail end, and it's the same idea. There was too much character movement and character positions that just didn't work together, right? I think if you want on a red station drifting is a much better option than this particular book. This one just did not feel good. It's a bit like maybe the third book in the Red Rising series where you're getting so deep into it that you lose the humanity. And those were for Sci-Fi September, which was my birthday month, and that was the theme. And then for horror, horror is an interesting one. I'm not sure the Cloisters fits in that, but it does talk about, the tantalizing opaqueness of, tarot cards and collecting and working in, the cloisters of the Met Museum. And I wouldn't necessarily call it dark academia because there's basically no academia in this for the most part. I DNF'd it and I owned it, and I felt bad because I bought that book, and an English book over here is like 12 euros, so it's not. But I couldn't finish it, so my copy went bye to whatever book box I dropped it off at. 19 Claws and a Blackbird was one I got from a library, and this was a collection of short stories. It was so pale that I don't actually remember what it was. I just remember I didn't enjoy it. And to me, that's just kind of sad. It's almost a DNF, but I'm not actually sure if I DNF'd it, but we'll see. After that, we have romance, and we're like halfway through my list. So I'm hurrying as fast as I can, guys. Erica Ridley's Must Love Magic made me so sad because I love Erica Ridley. I love historical, romance. She's got a very good eye on putting things together that make sense, also like within sub-genres of that. Unfortunately, this one was a miss for me. It was not a historical romance. It was a magical one, and I love paranormal romance, but the Tooth Fairy was kind of interesting to me. I liked her, but the male lead was so bad I could not care. I couldn't. I tried, but nothing worked. The magic didn't wow me. And as for the visa, in this one, it's about a quick marriage because someone's visa is about to run out, and it's like they're not two strangers, but they're kind of two strangers, and so they're close enough. And the Marriage of Convenience is one that I don't always like, but I really like to try to find one that I enjoy. But this one, there was no chemistry, there was no real spark. Neither the female or male leads amusing to me. I couldn't deal with it, so it was a no-go and gone. Sad because I actually bought that one from Church Books as well. So for historical, I put The Last Tale of the Flower Bride, but I'm not sure if it necessarily goes in historical fiction or if it goes in more of a paranormal section or a supernatural, like a myth retelling, because that's the basis of it. The idea is like The Last Tale of the Flower Bride. But the reason I say that is because 75% of it was in the past when they were YA, so I don't really count that as adult. The adult writing was much sharper. It was much more intriguing. I was much more focused on it. There's a lot of toxicity in the book, which is, part of mythology. I didn't mind that. It just did not work for me, unfortunately. And then What the River Knows was a book that everybody was talking about, so I was really interested in it. And usually I don't go necessarily for the new releases for the year, but or the last couple of years, but this one was really interested me because I love the idea of an adventure with all these things. But the male lead was, if you made Michael Douglas's character from Romancing the Stone 3 times as arrogant, plus negative charm from Brendan Fraser in The Mummy, it did not work. There was nothing I could do, and the female character I had some interest in, but as the story progressed, it just got more and more ludicrous, and she became much more empty, I think, almost. And that's sad. I DNF'd it at 17%. Considering the size of the book, that's actually a good chunk to make my decision on. And finally, I only have one on this list, which is saying something because classics don't always go very well with me. But The Legend of Sleeping Hollow was a book I loathed. I read it for one of the Goodreads book challenges for the year. I didn't know about them, but I could read it very quickly because I'd already read plenty of these books before. And sorry if you hear any scratching, that's me in my head because sometimes it gets a little bit itchy in here due to mold. Anyway, so in Washington Irving's Sleepy Hollow. I found that very dull. I mean, sometimes classics can have dull characters, sometimes they have great characters, because I love some classic books. This was not one of them. The women were basically described all the time as coquettish. They were described as like kind of gold diggers, just looking for people's money or power or something. And poor Ichabod Crane did not have any of that, so he was out of it, and blah, 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 blah. And so it was like a pissing contest between two men, and then like 75% of the way through the story to like 80%, you get the big moments that you hear about. That was it. And then after that, it was like the aftermath. I read the epilogue came with this because I read it on Chapter Vox, and I will link that below. But a short story that's longer than most short stories, it still did not have anything that I desired. And I'm pretty sure I'm back in thinking that character writer that I just don't have any interest in. So that's all my books. And I will talk to you after the beginning of the new year when my best books comes up. I'm also going to try and I'm getting my teeth done again in January. I'm getting them pulled so I can get them worked on. And so I don't know how long I'm going to have a mouth to talk, so I'm going to try and do these as quickly as I can and then just upload when possible. You know the deal. Like, comment, and subscribe. Comment and tell me your 2 least favorite books of the year, 2024. If you don't want to do that, then at least put like the little hedgehog down there, because again, I love hedgehogs. They're so cute. Talk to you guys later, and please enjoy the new year. Remember the beauty. There is horror. There's always horror in every year because, 2024 came out with a bang. But remember the beauty that you have that you did not expect, right? There's always some moment in life. Even if it's something simple like finding the perfect shirt that makes you feel special. That's a beautiful moment you didn't expect, because that gives you all the power of yourself, and it gives you things that the ability to know exactly what you want and to feel confident in that moment. So please, make sure to take care of yourself, but also remember to not let the bad overtake everything. It's really hard, and it's something that I've struggled with, so I know that for a fact. Thanks, guys. Bye.